Hi and welcome to MUNIS time entry training for hourly employees. We will learn how to enter our regular work hours, overtime, and sick days. But let's log in first. Click on the login button in the top right corner of the screen. It will ask for a username and password. Your username will be your employee ID, and your password will be the last 4 digits of your social. When you're ready, click on Login. Now we need to change our password. So our current password is the last 4 digits of your social. The new password should be at least 8 characters long, with 1 uppercase and 1 number at least. Don't forget to enter a new password hint. This is something that will remind you of the password. In case you forget it, we will send it to you in the email. And click on Change. When you see that message that your password has been successfully changed, click on Continue. And in the top right corner, you will be able to see your name. Let's click on Employee Self-Service in the top left corner. That will bring us to the main screen. So now we can see the summary of everything MUNIS has. We will go into time entry now. Click on time entry in the top left corner, and that brings us to the time card. Now this time card shows all types of leaves and exceptions that you're eligible for. As an hourly employee, you see your regular hours, overtime, sick, and maybe jury duty leave. As you can see, the time card shows 1 week, starting Sunday through Saturday. So we can navigate between weeks by clicking on prior week, next week, or months by clicking on months here. And we can go as far back as we want to in this time card and as far ahead as we want. As an hourly employee, you know that you have to enter hours for each day that you work. Those hours will be entered here in this top line, regular hours, hourly. So for example, on Tuesday, I would like to report that I work 8 hours. My regular full work day. If you work a 10-hour work day, you will report 9 hours without lunch. For me, it's 8. So I click on that day and I enter my hours here. And that is it. I can click out of it to the next day. Now, if you're working on a project or on a different account and you need to report your hours for the specific project or account, we do not enter our hours here. Instead, we will be working in this drop down here and we'll be entering our hours here. Let's say that on that day, 5 hours, I work on a project. From the drop down that says project ledger account, we choose the project that applies to you and click on Add Line Item. Now we see our hours here in the top square. Let's say another 3 hours of that day. I will record for a different account. From the General Ledger Account drop-down, choose the appropriate account and click on Add Line Item. So the sum of those hours is showing here in the top square, comes down to 8 hours total, and here we see the breakdown of those hours. 5 hours went to a certain project ledger account and 3 hours to general ledger account with a certain number. Now let me show you how to record our overtime. So let's say on Monday I overtimed 2 hours. Instead of entering our hours here in this top square, we will again be working in the drop down. And now we need to enter a reason. From the drop down that says reason, choose the reasoning code that applies to you. And click on Add Line Item. As an hourly employee, you're also eligible for some sick time. So to report or request a sick day, click on that day next to the sick hourly, for example Monday, and enter the amount of hours in the top square. Let's say it's 8 hours. This is all you need to enter here. All other fields can be left blank. After you're done entering your time in the time card, you have a few options. You can either save it for later or submit. Remember that every time that you click on submit, it sends an email to your supervisor. So if you're not sure, or if you're keying in your hours every single day, probably better idea to save for later and then submit in a bunch. So let's go ahead and click on submit. Now you can see the message that says your time has been submitted, and we see the little gray circle next to our hours that we entered. That means that this time was submitted but not yet approved. If you see a green check mark like this one next to your hours, that means this time was approved by the supervisor. If your supervisor rejected your time, you will receive an email notification with comments. Don't forget to log out every time you finish working with MUNIS. Click on your name in the top right and choose the log out option. Thank you.